Okay, what kind of future does the Bible describe? Point 2. The Bible describes a future time when death will be no more, neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be any more. And read Revelation 21:4. The problems that can make life seem hopeless today, such as poverty, injustice, sickness, and death, will no longer exist. The Bible promises that humans will be able to enjoy life forever in paradise on earth. And Revelation 21. And this is after the 1,000 years. Satan is bound for 1,000 years. The dead don't come alive until after the 1,000 years. The 1,000 years are completed, Satan will be released from his prison. Then the judgment. When death and Hades will give up the dead. And then we're in chapter 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning, or crying, or pain. The first things have passed away. And he who sits on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. And he said, Write, for these words are faithful and true. Then he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life, without cost. He who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But for the cowardly and the unbelieving and the abominable, the murderers and immoral persons, and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars, their part will be in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Yeah. Yeah. So, back in verse 4, it's the former things have passed. My scripture says the former things have passed away. So all the misery and pain, they will have passed away.
Yep, it sounds like it'll be just like when Adam and Eve dwelt with God in the beginning. Face-to-face communion that they lost.
Right.
Will be restored.
Yeah.
And the unrighteous will be cast into the lake of fire. The second death.
And remember, says that death and Hades are being cast in the lake of fire. So
Yeah.
that's a symbolic thing. I imagine you understand that, because how can you cast death into death? It's just death is permanently destroyed. There will be no more death. Period.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So you want me to tackle number 3?
Sure. We got through another one.
Okay. How can you build up your trust in the hope the Bible gives? So many people hope for good things. Maybe I should change my glasses. Maybe good things to hope to happen, but they cannot be sure that their hopes will ever be fulfilled. What the Bible promises is different. We can build up our trust in what it says by carefully examining the scriptures. Acts 17, verse 11. As you study the Bible, you will be able to decide for yourself whether you can believe what it says about the future. And Acts 17, verse 3, and this is from the study edition, says, now these were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica, for they accepted the word of God with great eagerness of mind, carefully examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so. Do you know who these people were? I mean, do you know the name of these people?
The Bereans.
Good.
Yeah,
So that's, yes. Do you want to add to that? I can tell.
Yeah, so they were in Thessalonica, and Paul went in to speak in the synagogue of the Jews. He went to them for 3 Sabbaths, reasoned with them from the Scriptures, explaining and giving evidence that the Messiah had to suffer and rise again from the dead, and saying, this Jesus whom I am proclaiming to you is the Messiah. And some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, along with a large number of the God-fearing Greeks and a number of the leading women. But the Jews, becoming jealous, and taking along some wicked men from the marketplace, formed a mob, and set the city in an uproar, and attacking the house of Jason, they were seeking to bring them out to the people. When they did not find them, they began dragging Jason and some brethren before the city authorities, shouting, these men who have upset the world have come here also, and Jason has welcomed them. And they all act contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus. They stirred up the crowd and the city authorities who heard these things. And when they had received a pledge from Jason and the others, they released them. Then they came to Berea. But it says they were preaching that there is another king, Jesus. It doesn't say that there will be another king. It says there is another king.
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's king?
Well, he hadn't ascended to his throne at that point in time, but probably was looked upon as those who were serving him as the king, because he would be king of the kingdom ultimately. I would have to research that a little bit to recognize how that would play out, but you are right. I mean, the scriptures are correct. Well, the scriptures are always correct, and unless somebody tries to mislead them, and that has happened down through the centuries also, where there are actually books in the Bible where they have omitted or added to try to prove a point. But the original scriptures, all the way back to, you say, even the Dead Sea Scrolls, have proved that down through thousands of years that the scriptures have been unchanged. Where I know people say, well, they've changed. You've modified them just to make them fit your religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not what we do.
Yeah, it says, eine, verb, present active infinitive, translated as is. There is another king.
Yeah. Well, remember what Jesus said to Pilate. What did Jesus say to Pilate? Do you remember?
It is as you say. Are you a king?
Yeah.
It is as you say.
Yeah.
And he said, if I cast out demons by the finger of God, then the kingdom is in your midst,
Yes.
is among you.
Yes.
And it's only getting bigger, like a mustard seed.
Yeah.
Or like that stone that was cut, crushed all the other empires and growing,
Oh, now you're going back to Daniel.
growing into a big mountain that covers the whole earth.
Yes.
It's like it won't come all at once. It's like yeast put into dough
Mm-hmm.
and raises the whole lump.